The breeze from the open window rustled Tom's legal parchment on his desk. His wife, Tammy, sat across from him on the leather Eames chair in his office. She vehemently clicked on the Book Now button on the Airbnb website. It was a very last-minute reservation, but they desperately needed to escape the city. This would be their second romantic rendezvous of the year, and the newly married couple sat aside 2 weeks solely for this purpose. With their busy schedules as attorneys, they would need time to unwind from their intense workloads to keep their marriage strong. Tammy rotated her laptop to show Tom the property. The pixelated picture on the website made the property look beautiful in a classic 90s fashion. The large oak tree in the middle of the circular driveway completed the cozy ensemble. A cute wooden bench with curled iron armrests sat at the tree's trunk. It had an oxblood stain that complemented the worn black iron. The tree's massive branches extended out beyond the roundabout, in front of the cabin, making the entire estate seem protected by the vastness of its magnitude. She closed the laptop and looked at Tom. "Honey, those documents can wait till we return," she fussed until Tom gave in, and they both made their way to the underground parking lot. Tammy exhaled in frustration at the New York traffic that increased their travel time by 2 hours. The trip was already 2 hours to begin with, and now she felt like she was on the Oregon Trail, surrounded by desperate people trying to get to the promised land. She had no idea where these other folks were going, but they had a solid 3 days to themselves in a home away from home. At least the Jaguar I-Pace was exponentially more comfortable than a canvas-covered wagon. A wonderful thought passed over her bored mind. She couldn't wait to get a tall glass of red wine and snuggle up to her husband in front of the fireplace. She reached over, rotated the AC knob, and drifted to sleep. A rumbling awoke Tammy, and the road vibrated the Jaguar as they turned onto the long cobblestone driveway. The rubber tires of the crossover SUV whined on the meticulously constructed road. It would be more at home on an English lord's property than backwoods of Connecticut. They'd been stuck on the journey so long that the sun had relinquished its grasp on the day, giving in to the night's demands. The SUV's headlights cut through the blackness of the night light like a saber through unarmored flesh. With a push of the gear shift, the vehicle's transmission clicked into park. They had arrived. Tom worked on clearing out the Jaguar of their belongings, but Tammy was too fascinated by the iron and oak bench under the tree to assist him with the final task of their arrival. It was well crafted and aged, like many of the pieces in her backyard. With a gentle touch, she pulled the pad of her finger across the smooth iron of the armrest. She couldn't believe how red the oak bench was. It looked to have hundreds of coats of deep red wood stain. "Tom, honey, we need to find out who makes this bench. It would look fabulous in our garden." Tom replied under duress, "Of course, dear. Anything you want." In a final glance at the tree, before she walked back to the house, she looked at the great oak tree and noticed what looked like a bony material wedged into the trunk. It was hard to notice before because it had all aged the same, but she could swear it appeared to be a cow skull, but only a third of it was showing. Her body shook for a quick second. "Ugh," she exclaimed. She hated weird crap like that. But it was dark, and the lights of the front entrance and driveway could be playing tricks on her mind. She abandoned the idea and followed her husband back towards the house. A few stone stairs led the couple into the front entrance and were made of a flat gray granite. The door was painted a relaxing turquoise color, reminiscent of the popular Arizona stone. 30 minutes later, they had settled into the temporary vacation home. It was a warm evening, and the couple decided to leave the windows open to listen to the wildlife as they slumbered. Tammy wouldn't get her fireplace ambiance, but plenty of French red wine. Soothing cricket songs radiated throughout the forest. The insects were free to sing their songs, while their winged predators lay fast asleep in their nest. The evening's euphony was interrupted with the sound of a crying deer. The couple were woken from their REM sleep to the sound emanating from the anguished animal. "Tom, what was that?" Tammy squeezed Tom's arm for comfort. "I don't know, dear. Let me look out the window," Tom said sleepily. They clumsily made it to the open window, and Tammy never let go of Tom's arm. The creature panicked as it barreled through the forest. The deer swiftly navigated through the undergrowth, darting between the trees towards the cabin. Some unknown sense of reprieve forced it towards the human's lair. They listened intently as the breaking branches and crushed leaves succumbed to the animal's aggressive trampling. Tom and Tammy spotted the deer, breaking through the thick forest onto the cobblestone driveway, its hooves clicking uncontrolled on an unnatural surface. The animal's mind searching for safety under the large oak tree. Tom whispered, "Look there." They both now could see the deer clearly under the radiant blue moonlight. The deer made it within a few meters of the tree's wide stump when it was roughly sucked straight up into the forest's thick green canopy. The couple watched in amazement at the event unfolding before them, stuck, crouching down in the small master bedroom, their heads just peeking above the base of the window. The deer could be heard struggling against some unknown force, tugging at the animal by its torso. The silhouette of the deer could be seen, kicking and writhing under the pale blue moonlight. The moans of anguish abruptly silenced with a final chirp. The tree branches seemed to let free a black liquid from where the deer was suspended, the dark substance slapping the ground with a loud thump like a bag of water dropped onto concrete. Tom and Tammy jumped back onto the bed in complete silence, eyes agape. They continued to stare at the dark mass of liquid at the base of the tree. They were so transfixed upon the bizarre event that they didn't even notice the creature that slowly rose from the bench and rotated itself towards their bedroom window. Tom's ancient genetic instincts activated in an instant, sensing a predator was near. They both rallied their vision from the right of the tree where the blood pile was, to the left, and there before them was a great silhouette of a being. Tom's eyes slowly moved from the bottom to the top of the creature. A sickening ache wrenched at his gut as his brain processed the figure before him. The being was naked, with a slight forward-leaning hunch. Under the moonlight, the creature's body seemed to be chiseled from stone. His eyes moved up towards its head, fear now coursing through his veins. A barren white bull skull rested heavily upon the shoulders of this great humanoid, with thick roots extending outward in large circular growth patterns. Its upper body rose up and down, as if it was breathing. The beast's large head lifted up to meet Tom's gaze. It had no apparent eyes, but Tom and Tammy knew it could see them clearly. The sockets were black as night, but had a starry diamond glisten to them. He couldn't pull his gaze from the great being. It was like stumbling across a lion in the underbrush. He had no idea what to do. The blood from the deer drizzled onto the top of its white skull from the branches above. The thick, dark blood retreated into the ground below its feet. Reaching to the heavens with its thick arms, it snatched the carcass of the animal from the branches and smashed its body against its pale, white, bony face, the organs and flesh sticking to the roots of its head. Tom and Tammy lay frozen on the bed. Satisfied in a lustful embrace, the being held the deer above its head once more. With a swift and aggressive yank, it pulled the deer apart. The remaining organs and blood crashed down upon its head. The once white skull, now drenched in crimson blood. Realizing that the two humans were still watching, the creature shifted back towards them, each of its hands clenched to a piece of the deer. It held a long stare at the terrified couple. Then, in an instant, abruptly threw the remains towards the window. With a loud thwack, the window slammed shut from the weight of the deer's body. Tammy, broken from her trance, expelled a blood-curdling scream. Tom snatched her arm and dragged her into the centermost part of the cabin. Her screams ran uncontrolled as Tom struggled to keep his faculties in order. This dream had to end. They sat intertwined in the center of the living room. Her voice grew hoarse. The man had no words, unable to make sense of anything. Waves of adrenaline shook his body. His thoughts ran through his mind like sheets of paper in a heavy wind. All he could do was squeeze his wife's shivering being. She rocked in his embrace, her body soaked in a cold, salty sweat. His eyes darted from window to window, trying to anticipate the creature's entrance into their domain. The fear was bubbling up from within. He stifled the scream with his hand. He desperately tried to keep himself calm. Had it been minutes or even hours? Time seemed to drag along, and Tom's circadian rhythm could not be trusted. Their sense of the world now distorted. Tom could feel his wife's body giving in to the exhaustion of the night's affair. She grew heavily in his arms. Her whimpering dissipated. His eyes became heavy, and his heart thumped slower and slower in his chest. His body gave in to the fact that this unknown threat may never enter the cabin. Was it even outside anymore? How much time had passed? His mind drifted into unconsciousness. His weight lay heavy in his wife's embrace. The wind whistled as it fought through the sprawled branches of the giant oak tree. Blood dripped from the edges of the roots that grew on the creature's calcified skull. The old wooden bench creaked under the immense weight of the tree beast, its needs satiated. The tree preferred the taste of the sweet flesh of deer. The old oak tree received whatever it desired, and the creature relaxed knowing the symbiotic relationship would last another season as it had a millennia before. Come dawn, it would be reabsorbed into the roots of the ancient oak, until the tree needed to be fed again. But until then, it would listen to the unhinged screams of the useless, putrid creatures that were stuck inside the cabin found deep in the woods.